The hosts and guests on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals. The discussions in our episodes are not personalized medical advice. Always consult a qualified healthcare provider for medical guidance. Never delay seeking professional medical advice or emergency assistance because of our podcast. We encourage consulting with a healthcare professional before making any significant health changes. By listening to our podcast, you agree to the disclaimer. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Hey, welcome to Everything's Messy podcast, where we celebrate the beautiful but messy life experiences that most, if not all, people go through. Get ready to embark on an exciting journey through the raw and unfiltered stories of everyday people. Here, we dive into messy realities of life, from making messy mistakes to triumphs and everything in between. Are you sensing a theme? That's right, it's messy. But this just isn't about the mess. It's about finding strength and resilience in the midst of it all. We'll explore how health, fitness, and wellness play a crucial role in navigating life's twists and very messy turns. And we'll challenge conventional systems, because sometimes the most unconventional paths lead to the greatest discoveries. Join us as we embrace the messy, beautiful, and endlessly fascinating stories. Each episode is a testament to the power of our messy journeys and the beauty that emerges from the mess. So grab your favorite beverage, coffee, sparkling water, whatever it may be, and prepare to be inspired. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Everything's Messy podcast. I am your messy host, Sarah. Okay, we are fast approaching our 2-year anniversary. I can't believe it. Going into season 3, so many things I want to talk about. But as we round out season 2, I want to talk about some things that are trending in the health world right now. It's some is kind of, I can see it, and then others are like, really? Okay, do we need to? And then some updated blood pressure guidelines that I think we need to get into and talk about. So we're just going to have a solo episode today and just kind of talk about these things. Hopefully you'll learn something. I know I learned a couple of things. And we're inching our way closer to our 2-year anniversary. I'm so excited, and let's get into it. So trending now in health wellness, they are almost making it a beauty trend, which is really interesting to me because growing up, I did a few pageants in my past. Yes, don't judge me. Don't mock me. Well, you can mock me, but don't judge me. I learned a lot. But one of the things that was always really important was about posture. Not necessarily the old days where you're balancing a book on your head, although don't think I didn't try that, but it was definitely how you command presence, how you stand, how you position yourself. And so posture was always something that I was very self-aware about. But now it seems like it's turning into a beauty trend, which that's fine with me. I don't have any issue with that, but I feel like it's a way to sell yet another wellness or beauty product for women. They're on TikTok, they're promoting it as posture correction. It's a non-invasive way to reduce, neck wrinkles and sharpen jaw lines and exude a youthful appearance. And I feel like if we are able to get facelifts with our posture, sign me up. I'm all for that. But I'm not sure. Obviously, I am pro posture, standing up straight, making sure your back is aligned. It's better for your hips. It's better for your knees, everything like that. But I just don't know that we need to be diving into yet another beauty trend / wellness trend and all these gadgets that are going to come out. I've seen the sports bras that sort of wrap around that are supposed to pull the individual outside straps, and it pulls it up and it makes you stand up straighter. I mean, again, that's all fine. I have no issue with that. I just think we need to be careful of how many times we set a beauty standard or as a wellness trend, and then how are we perpetuating the so-called wellness trend with the billion-dollar industry that it is, and what are we actually getting out of it? So again, I am 100% pro posture. Just let's be reasonable about it. Are we really, needing these contraptions? Maybe. I don't know. It feels almost corset dark ages to me. I'm not sure, we need to be able to breathe. You don't want to wrap things around yourself so tight that you're not, breathing correctly and getting the adequate amount of air that you need. So I caution, do your research. Make sure that if you buy something that is supposed to correct your posture, that you're really looking into what it's actually doing. And are we just perpetuating, again, the multi-billion-dollar industry that wellness and beauty have become separately and together? And just, do we need all of these products? Okay, so that's my rant on posture. Now I'm going to get into quad robot, quad, quadrobox, quadrobics. I can't even say it, quadrobics. It is an animal-inspired functional fitness, a playful gym-free workout style called quadrobics. Exercises are performed on all four, like bear crawls, crab walks, and gorilla walks, which I'm not really even sure what that is. It's gaining a lot of popularity. It's being held for improving strength, coordination, and mobility, and you get to walk on all fours, I guess, or stretch on all fours, or whatever they're telling you. And I am completely for anyone to be inspired to get down and move. I had the gentleman who talked about yoga with us on a couple of weeks ago, and he was very, very cautious about the stretching that we're doing. And are we actually stretching the fascia, which is the part that's in between our joint and our cartilage? And I just want to make sure people aren't going to be hurting themselves. There's definitely split research out there on if you should stretch before you work out, if you should stretch after your muscles are warmed up, after your workout, if you should stretch at all. And I think what happens is it gets a little convoluted between the difference between being flexible and having mobility, and then stretching your muscles out to the point of maybe injury or things that could happen. Again, I do feel like, at least in my workouts, I do pre-stretch a little bit just to warm it up and just, get going, but I don't do my heavy long stretches until my muscles are warmed up. But I also do a little bit of mobility, and mobility is, yes, on the lines of flexibility, but it does move your body differently, and there are proper ways to do it. So I would just with any exercise regimen, you want to be sure that you're at the level that you know you need to be, and you're not going to overdo it or injure yourself to the point where now you can't exercise at all. So just be aware, just be cautious about that. But I did find it funny, quadrobics, as now I'm able to say. It's just another get out there, move. I've said this before. While walking doesn't build muscle, walking is one of the best exercises that you can do. There's all of these studies out there with people that have lived well past their 90s into, 100. I think the oldest woman on record right now, don't exactly remember, but it's well into the first decade of being 100. And one of the things that she does is she walks every single day. And not to the point where it's 10 to 12,000 steps a day. So there's so much to be said about just walking. Running's great if you can do it. Hiking's great if you can do it. But if all you can do is walk, do it every day. It's so important. It's so, so important. And again, any way that you can add anything to your exercise routine, anything that you can get, motivated to move out there. And again, I always talk about motivation versus self-discipline and why we do what we do. Remember what was his name? Steve, I think, on one of the episodes, he talked about, I'm going to put it in a nutshell, basically paraphrase, but he said something to the effect, we always say we would do anything for our children, right? And showing up and having self-discipline and working out is really, really important. And so his example was, if you take your children to school, you have to pick your children up, and it's non-negotiable. If, let's say, it's snowstorm is coming or it's raining outside, you're going to show up and go pick up your kids. That's just it's non-negotiable. And he applied that to the same as fitness. It's non-negotiable. Doesn't matter if you don't feel like it. Doesn't matter if you don't want to do it. You show up. That's what you do. You dress the part. You show up. You're like, oh, I don't want to do everything today. Don't. Meet yourself where you're at, but do something. Get something on the books. And one of the things I'm learning is the promises that we keep for ourselves actually spurs us on to do more. But our body gets used to it when we start breaking promises to ourselves. And part of that is showing up. If you're saying, I'm going to work out today, I'm going to work out today, I'm going to work out tomorrow, I'm going to work out all week, and then you don't, your body receives that. Okay. All right, coach. That's great. We're not getting in. Now, having an injury or an illness, that's different, and we all need rest breaks. But, 90% of the time, we need to be putting in the work. And if we have the mentality of it's a non-negotiable, it's like drinking water, it's like eating our meals, it's like, kissing our children, doing what we need, it's a non-negotiable, then we are, and we prove to ourselves, we keep that promise to ourselves to show up for ourselves, then we're going to keep doing that. And I think that's really incredibly important. And while self-discipline is important, if it's too aggressive or too much pressure to think about it in that terms, then think about it of keeping the promise you make to yourself, because that's what it's about. All right. So this last one I want to get into a little bit. And the American Heart Association has updated blood pressure guidelines. What does that mean? Well, we always see that they're moving the goalpost to make it better and better and better, or in what they think is a better, better number. Now, again, I've said this before. They have moved the goalpost. I think it originally, I want to say 20 years ago, was like, 140 over 80. Like it's not what it is today. In fact, I had one of the doctors that I talk with, he has a colleague who has a practice, and he's trying to get his patients to have the top number, your is it systolic and diastolic, whatever the top number is, he's saying it should be 100 or lower. And that's talking about low blood pressure now. So I really hope that they don't make it to that. He also says that this colleague of his at his practice wants to get all of everybody's cholesterol 100 or lower. Again, cholesterol is not bad. Now, if you're getting it in forms of Oreo cookies or, cheeseburgers that are laced with all of the, fixings and bread and all that stuff, then yeah, no, you don't need to be doing that. But cholesterol, healthy cholesterol in and of itself, our body needs, our brains need, our brain cells need, our muscles need. And so just continuing to move these guidelines, I don't agree with it. So here the American Heart Association has said they've introduced a smarter risk assessment tool named Prevent. It's an enhanced diagnostic and a lifestyle hot sheet to encourage sustainable wellness. The updates also emphasize the link between blood pressure and brain health, personalized medication plans, and refined protocols for managing blood pressure during pregnancy. Okay, let's just take that one, Lauren. Personalized medication plan. Most people, if they're eating well and exercising, are reducing their stress, are sleeping well, don't have any deficiencies, are not anemic, those kinds of things. Autoimmune, chronic, there's a lot, but most people who aren't suffering from those things and are eating well and exercising should not be subjected to a medication plan just to get the number that they now say it should be. And it pains me that people are starting to feel bad for themselves because they're like, I am eating well, I am working out, I am doing all the things, and it's still not the magic number that they say. And I encourage you so much to go back and just on your own, look up under any search engine you want to use and look up guidelines for blood pressure 20 years ago and see how much the difference between that and the current number that they recommend. And you're going to be surprised. And I'll bring those numbers next week. I'm not going to say it now just because I think we really need to hone in on, we don't need a pill for an ill, and they don't need to be changing the numbers for us to be prescribed to meet those numbers. We just need to make it make sense. It doesn't make sense. It's not okay. That's my little rant for blood pressure. Okay. So now I've got this Med-cations. Again, it's another trend that's happening. Med-cations, health-focused getaways. Medical vacations or Med-cations are emerging as upscale wellness investments. These retreats blends diagnostics, example, full blood work, genome sequencing with biohacking therapeutic modalities and personalized health plans. Whoa, those are mouthfuls, right? But those are things that we're striving to do every day on our own. I'm not sure that creating a vacation around these things, because I know with me, right, and people who suffer from chronic illness or autoimmune, you don't get a vacation. And I don't know that I would like taking a vacation to focus completely on my diabetes or my heart attack when I do that every single day. To me, I think we need to be careful about how far down the rabbit hole we go and putting this pressure on ourselves to meet some of these very unreasonable numbers. At least that's my opinion. Again, I'm not a doctor. I don't play one on TV, but I feel like we're getting away with what's important. We're getting away from what's important. And again, pouring into the multi-billion-dollar wellness and beauty industry that this is hot right now. This is a hot button thing. And I'm all for you wanting to go to, a resort and go to the spa, use the spa and have those kinds of treatments. That's what it's about. But we shouldn't forget enjoying people's company, friends, family, being in a different place, experiencing the culture, experiencing something new. I don't think we need to just put all this pressure on ourselves to make sure, because it really feels like just an endless circle of just, okay, I'm trying this new thing. Oh, I didn't meet what I was supposed to do. Oh, now I feel bad about myself. I'm going to try again. And we just go round and round and round. And I don't know how healthy that's going to turn out to be, because again, there is that fine line of walking about getting obsessed with something. And while I am extremely health conscious and I'm trying to, be very aware of the things that I put in my body and what I'm doing and exercise and all that kind of stuff, I don't want to get so obsessed where I forget that there's life to live. I want to live life. I want to experiencing things. I want to have fun. And I don't know, doing genome sequencing doesn't sound a whole lot of fun to me. Just my opinion. But this is, again, a trend. It's saying here that wellness clinics in Mexico are expanding. It's for new longevity-focused hotels like the Estate are slated to open in 2026 with tech-driven health offerings. I mean, how precious can it get, right? I feel like, again, balance in everything we're doing and putting it into perspective is the best thing that we can be doing for ourselves, because we can get carried away with anything. We can be obsessive about anything. And even though it may look good, anything that you're obsessed about in the long run is going to take you away from other things that are important. Family, responsibilities, obligation, you just don't want to become obsessed with it. So I think, I'm curious about some of these things. I want to also know, like I said, my big question, why now? Well, we kind of know why now because it is the hot button issue. There was a thing online, I think I read a week or two ago, Las Vegas is plummeting. They don't have tourist things happening. The drinks are completely expensive. Like all of these things are happening. And the article basically alluded to, it's a couple of things. One, things are so expensive. It's also summer right now. So I don't know if that's considered Vegas off season. It probably is. That would make sense. But I also know younger generations are not, they are more health conscious. And I think that's great. They're not about blowing their money, not at least in gambling. And they're not frequenting the Sin City life, if you will. And I think doing a pivot and shift, my favorite word, doing a pivot to wellness things, great, I'm on board. But do we need to go so hard to make it every part of our life? I don't know. I'm curious. I want to know, is that the next multi-billion part of it, is these med-cations? I mean, sure, maybe. I think we're still trying to find our way back from being isolated from COVID. I think we're still trying to find our way back to family, socialization, spending time with each other. I was talking to my sister the other day. Her and I have some of the best conversations. And we were talking about times are always changing, right? But are we losing our past and really what it meant? Are we losing our heritage? Are we losing our traditions? Are we losing our ancestors? Her and I were talking about, possibly having ancestors in Scotland and Northern England. We know we have Wales and other things, but it was just interesting and thinking about their journey on how they came to America. One side of the family came through Canada. The other side of the family came through Georgia, which interesting fact later after speaking with my dad about it, Georgia's colony was actually established by a man with the last name Oglethorpe, and it was originally established for like a debtor's prison who owed the King of England. And according to a great aunt, that we had ancestors that were in a debtor's prison in Georgia. And, is that kind of a sad story? Yes, but it's ancestors. It's our history. We should know this. I think it's important. And um, I miss having that time where you could hear, the older people in your family sit around and talk about the stories that they grew up on. And I don't want to lose that. And I really hope that we can come back to, folklore, learning these stories. How does it apply to us? We all came from somewhere in the world. And I just think it's really important that we hang on to it. We hang on to the traditions. We talk about them, even though, I didn't know any of these people. We talk about our ancestors and, what it was like. I don't know how many Outlander fans are out there. I'm a huge Outlander fan. And it kind of makes you, well, I don't necessarily think about time travel. However, I do think about what it was like when they did first come to America. And, it was a brand new country. And what were things that they were dealing with? And while I know the beginning of Outlander is in the Highlands in Scotland, which, is great. I wish we could go back that far and see. I think just having these tidbits, having these little pieces of, family history is so important. And so, like I said, I think we're trying to make our way back to hopefully becoming closer again, making those connections, because like I've always said, all people, I think, are innately, I don't know if it's in their DNA, but I think there's some form of tribal, there's some form of unity. We have to learn from each other, and we have to carry these stories on, whatever they may be. I can't imagine, if you think about it going forward, I can't imagine with, people 100 years from now will say about us. And I just think it's important to keep whatever that feeling is. I think it's important to keep it alive. Okay, so that rant is over. I had a few rants today that I had to get through. I really hope that it inspires you to either take some, ask the questions, the hard questions. Why now? Why are they doing this? What are we missing? Is this the way the pendulum's swinging? Again, I'm okay that it's swinging towards the wellness, but how much of it? And what are we sacrificing to be obsessed with it? And so let's not lose sight. Let's not lose perspective. Let's still continue the joy of living life itself. The people that we're meeting, the things that are happening, the things that you can learn. Part of the thing that I'm trying to instill in my children is not only, the basics and family and, how to be in society and the rules and things like that. Not just that, but really a love of learning. And I think that's a lot where my inspo comes from of I just have this love of whatever it is to learn. I want to learn it, especially if I'm interested in it. I want to learn everything about it. I want to know all about it. And if I can just impart that to somebody who's like, oh, I have time to go pick up a new hobby or pick up a new exercise routine or learn something new, try something new. I think if your love of learning is there, you can't go wrong. You cannot go wrong. So that is my rant. Like I said, we are almost to our 2-year mark. I can't believe we just shortly celebrated the 100th episode a few weeks ago. Now we're at the 2-year mark going into season 3. I'm so grateful again to have this platform and get to talk to you. And again, make fun of me all you want. But I hope at least while you're laughing at me, with me, whatever it is, you're learning something and you keep it messy. Thanks, everyone. See you next time. Thanks for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Whew, if you made it this far, give yourself a gold star or at least a nap. Honestly, if you showed up today and you were listening, you've already crushed it. I'm so grateful for you listening. If anything, head home, Share it, tag me, write it on a sticky note. I don't care. Just don't keep all of this messy goodness to yourself. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Wellness or over at my website, everythingsmessywellness.com, where I've got resources, coaching, and probably a new rant about blood sugar or something that's just nonsense. It's all waiting for you. Check out my YouTube channel. I've got all of my podcast episodes up there. And I'm on X at Everything's Mess. Or if you just want to send me an email, Sarah at everythingsmessywellness.com. Look, until next time, hydrate, take no crap, and as always, keep it messy.